What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Jiu Jitsu Junction podcast. My name is Andre, and I'm here with my buddy Chase. And today we're going to be talking about how to pick the right Jiu Jitsu instructor for private lessons for yourself.
Yes, sir. Super important. It's a big investment that really can go a lot of different ways. So.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
There's a lot to consider. So we have 5 things written down. There's probably more. But the first thing that we should be considering is professionalism.
Definitely. Well, and actually, I'm going to back up a quarter step on you. First thing I'd be considering, if you're looking for something with private lessons, make sure private lessons is something to add on top of training. I run into, it's funny with my kids program, I run into things sometimes like kids will kind of fall off a little bit. Maybe, whether it's sick, maybe something happened in the family, whatever, but they miss a little bit of time. They come back in and they're a little behind. And what happens when they're a little behind is the parent gets a little scared, and a week later, I come in and class is starting and I'm looking around and the kid in there, I look over, I'm like, I know he was here. He's over there finishing up a private lesson during a class time. And I had to really reframe, like, hey guys, listen, private lessons are extra. Like that's on top of your training. That's to help with training. Private, and obviously I know circumstances are different. Like some people that might be all you can do is private training where they work around your schedule. But I just want to make sure private training is for additives. It's not to supplement your classes or your instructor's training. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's a supplement. It's not
a supplement.
Your core progress and training will always be better when you have a variety of training partners and you're within a class structure.
Yeah, and that'll help with, and we'll talk in a second about kind of picking your lessons and for the instructors. That'll help with that as well because you've got a class that's moving you along a line of progression. And you're going to have issues along that line, and that's where, we'll dive in, but that's where I see the private lessons being super valuable. There's already a timeline going. There's already a trend of techniques going. So now let's use those private lessons to help dive in some of those techniques, to help maybe a place we're having a problem with.
Yeah, I mean, in the past for myself, when I've used bundles of private lessons or whatever, it's usually been because something in class was either I couldn't figure out how to do it, or everybody was messing me up with those techniques. And I'm like, hey, can we work on some counters? I'm getting messed up.
Well, and you get real value there. Like you're looking for a problem to fix it. Like I think that's the best usage on lessons.
Yeah, sure. Private lessons are like laser-focused problem solving. Yeah. And at its core, I think that's the best way to do it. Mm-hmm. The other thing you could use them for are learning specific technique chains that are like very valuable to you specifically. So I think that's also a good way. But so how to pick the actual instructor that you're going to use? The first thing was professionalism. Yeah. Are they going to show up on time?
That's going to be a big one. Because you're paying for an hour session, right? That's 60 minutes. And you're probably on the time frame, right? Whether you're doing it before class or after class, you're probably on the time frame. So if that instructor is 7 minutes late, and the first 10 minutes of what he does, he's, getting ready, getting his drink while he's got you doing things. We're 17 minutes into a lesson, and you haven't even gotten any real work with the instructor yet. So then, that's usually, you could find that out by asking around. You ask, hey, have you had any lessons with such and such? How is he? Because my biggest, I've been blessed with the ability to, my head instructor has included me in more lessons than I could have ever paid for. Private lessons. I probably 5 years straight, I got to do every lesson, whether it was a black belt coming in or a white belt. I got to be the one to help with all the lessons. But I have bought one full package before from someone. And I wanted to train, I actually talked about it before. I wanted to train 3 times a week, and I was paying for it. I bought 12 sessions. So I wanted a month, 3 times a week for a month. First week he canceled twice. Second week he canceled once, and he was 30 minutes late. I did not finish my last 2 weeks with him.
Wow.
Yep. I was like, man, you know what, dude? It's okay. We'll get it at some point. And he continuously has that issue, not showing up.
Yeah.
And that was one of the only times I really took money aside and invested. And it was just like, man, that's not really professional, man. Like, you were on your phone for 10 to 15 minutes of my lesson. Like, you had me doing drills just to kill time. And I'm paying. This is valuable,
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't even ask, what I was looking for lessons for. And I thought that was a weird one. Make sure that, that's part of that professionalism. Like, if you come to me and it's like, hey, Chase, I would like to buy a packet, buy one of your private lesson packages, I'd be, okay, cool. Well, what are you looking to do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I really, man, in class, this is happening. Oh, okay, cool. But if you're like, oh, I don't know, man, whatever you want to do, I don't really know if I'm the guy for that. That's how I operate it. But that's me trying to be professional. Like, hey, if you don't have something specific, I can't really build like from out of nowhere for a small time. Now, if we want to go for 6 months, that would be different. But we're just talking about a couple packages. Like, I need focus from you. I need to know what you want to work on, and that'll give you the most value out of your money. Yeah,
for sure. that professionalism element is so variable when it comes to jiu-jitsu instructors, and I think it must just be a part of the culture, or like they don't have a business background. They don't understand all the time how to respect people's time.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to sort through people, and you have to be willing to switch off if they're not delivering. And it takes a little bit of courage to do that, especially if
you're paying. Remember that.
Yeah.
You are paying. For sure.
The courage that, like, especially if they're at your home school, which you should be looking there first.
Yeah.
If you're at your home school and one of the instructors isn't delivering, it can feel hard to walk away. But as the paying customer, you have the right to do that if they're not delivering. And like, if they're upset about it, then that's kind of on them and not you. And I know it's going to be challenging if you have to pull back from that. You could just, be like, oh, well, we could finish out these remaining 3 and then just don't re-up.
Yeah.
That's usually probably the lowest friction way to handle it.
Say that's your easiest, lowest friction. Just finish those lessons out and then and he'll ask you, hey, do you want to do some more? But man, I definitely do. But man, funds aren't there right now, or
exactly.
I want to go a different route, but.
Yeah, you don't have to make it about them, and it'll make it so that you don't like mess up your school environment for yourself. But it sounds very doom and gloom. You could definitely find good relationships with instructors, and you can have fruitful private lessons with them. So let's talk about some of the other things that we might be looking for to pick the right one for you specifically. And the first thing, the next thing, I guess, is body type.
You mean I shouldn't go to a little bitty guy and do a private lesson with him?
I mean, if you want to work on leg entanglements, maybe that's possible.
That's where it'll go, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like if you pick somebody who has your body type, they will have solutions for your body type.
No question. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like I'll probably. I mean, if you guys saw the podcast with Henry, I'd probably get more out of a lesson with Henry because he has my body type than I would someone long and lanky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, because you're just not gonna like, hey, no, it's like this. You're looking at me like, well, your arm reaches all the way to the other side.
Jesus, is your arm like a foot longer than mine?
And probably close like an 81-inch reach.
I don't have 81-inch reach.
Yeah, so for sure, body type is everything. Yeah, that's huge.
I think that matters more than weight class too. Like you can get somebody who has a lanky body type that's not very heavy or muscular, and they can still teach you some things if you've got that same body type and you have a lot more packed on.
Yeah.
So like,
I guess the only thing, if there's a big size or even same body type, but there's a big size weight difference, the only thing you might run into is not being able to do, which some instructors don't like to be the physical partner. Some instructors are like, hey, you need to bring a partner. You know, and then that changes things a little bit. But you know, obviously, me picking, even if we have the same body type, but they're a 145-pound, long, lanky. You know, maybe if I have to drill with him, it's like that doesn't really work. So if that makes sense, like maybe body type, yeah, but the size will make a difference as well, because you might have to go with that instructor for the moves.
Yeah, and
now, if you've done private lessons at other places, that most instructors ask for a partner, or do you do it with the instructor?
To me, the concept of having to bring a partner is it's new to me since I moved here. Basically, like everybody else that I've ever done a private lesson with, the instructor was doing it.
Interesting. Okay.
But and they will be like, hey, why don't you split a lesson with your potential partner? So that was a way that they would call it semi-private lessons. But they wouldn't make more money. They preferred it, but they didn't.
That's the way. That's how I
it.
prefer lessons. Yeah. I would prefer lessons if you have a partner. I can see stuff. I can guide you through it. You know, I'd like it to be even a little more premium if it had to be me as a partner.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's right or wrong, right? But
yeah, I mean, I think that in most schools you can split the cost with a partner. If you have a training partner that you value, then maybe you just front the bill and they'll just show up. Especially if they have the body type and that matches yours, right? Yeah. So the other thing is, do they have the game that you're looking for? Do they have a game that's compatible with your attributes?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that are just not on the table for me. So if you have a killer triangle game from guard, there's just no way I'm going to learn those kinds of things. I don't have the requisite mobility and limb length, not to specialize in it, right? So you have to find someone with a compatible game that you want to learn.
No question. That's I actually, when I picked this lesson with said instructor, you know, I picked it with him because of a certain set of skills that he had, and I was hoping, you know, that was the direction we were going to go. So that's big. Finding someone that like I know you're a big deep half guard. You know, Henry's got a crazy deep half guard game. You know, that would be somebody I would definitely go to for deep half guard. It doesn't take long. Sit around the room and watch. You can see people's games, and especially when you get a list, you know, a couple guys that are instructors at your school, you can see how they roll, how they do things. A lot of times too. Now, sometimes I've actually been around some privates where not the instructor, but the person paying for the private didn't really like for anybody to be around and see. You know, but I've also been able to observe a ton of privates. So maybe that's something too. You know, you see that instructor giving a private, you just kind of hang out by the bench, you know, kind of watch and see, and that'll help give you that. Oh man, that I like the way he's teaching that, or you can definitely, because there are multiple privates going on. You know, it's not like you're going to be the first person to have a private, so you can usually get to see that ahead of time.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that you can consider is, depending on your skill level, you might not get the most value out of training with a black belt instructor. Like if there's a specialized like blue belt that's teaching the fundamentals class that has skills that you know, they will love to teach you.
Yeah.
And they'll love it because they don't get to do that often, because they're not the, you know, high prestige black belt instructor. They can have a lot to teach you, especially if your skill level is white belt. If you're a white belt, a blue belt or a purple belt can often give you the lessons you need in a way that somebody who has forgotten some of the, like let's just take a brown belt who isn't teaching classes really, who's just on the competitive circuit or regional, local competitive circuit, right? if they're not regularly teaching, their teaching skills might not actually translate. And your problems might not feel that real to them because they haven't experienced them in so long. I am a big believer in somebody who just solved the problem being able to teach the solution better than somebody who has long ago solved that problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need someone at level 100 teaching you a level 3 skill.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's level 10 is going to remember how to teach that skill a little bit better.
Often a lot of time with that advanced levels, those higher levels, things are just kind of taken for granted. Like, oh no, you're just supposed to do it like that. But the lower level, it isn't. The reason why you do it like that is because you have been in this for 9 years, and then you got your black belt. So our head instructor, that's one of the, I remember the past 3-4 years, maybe 5 years now, where the first part of me being around him, I thought that was all I was supposed to do, is fill in all those places that man, what the fuck? Why would you do it like that? He just looks at you like, well, that's stupid to do it like that.
I just remember being like, I'm having trouble inverting. Can you tell me how I'm supposed to do it? And he's like, I don't know if I can tell you that. It's just something that I do, and I know how it works. I'm like, well, thanks, buddy.
Yep. No, and that's just that level of mastery, that level of expertise. It's just like, well, why would you do it any other way? Like, I don't think I should have to tell you to keep your hips under your head. Why would you? All right.
Yeah, and like,
so that was my. Sorry, I didn't cut you off, but that was kind of my. I thought that was one of my purposes when I was first around him, was to find all those things that he just kind of, man, this is what he does. Like, he naturally does it. Like, I would watch him do moves, just to watch how he did them and stuff he didn't talk about. Because it's like there's more value in his body positioning and how he's moving that he's not talking about than the things he's talking about. Because he's talking on a level that you already had to understand everything he was doing to do that. It's like, and if you're new, like, you don't think of that. Like, inverting, getting on that shoulder, hips up, like, you don't think of that.
I'm 5 years in, and he does stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I've seen him do that 100 times, and I just realized he's doing that with his shoulder.
Yep.
So like, if somebody is up here master, and you're like first 6 months in white belt, you're not going to get the full value of what you're paying for. Now, if you just have like money to just throw at it, then, you could do that, and you'll just have to be more specific with asking to fill in the missing pieces. All right, so we just had a toddler-sized interruption, and that happens a lot here. So I wanted to make the point that when we're doing these private lessons, we're really looking to max out our value and skill acquisition. And skill acquisition. And most of the time, the person who's teaching the fundamentals class is probably going to help the most if you're at a beginner level.
Yeah, well, and they're freshed up. They're fresh. Like, all the fundamentals are fresh because they work on them every single day. Not just work on them, but they're teaching them, and they know them, but they're still learning them. They're still actively thinking about them when they're doing it. I don't, and maybe it does, but a lot of that, until that purple brownish level, like, you're still consciously thinking about doing a lot of those fundamental things. And it's like, oh man, I just do all them things right now. It's weird, But for the long, and obviously still, the higher level, you still have to consciously focus on some. But some of those motor patterns will be programmed in by that time. But usually that blue belt, that early purple belt that's teaching the fundamental class, they're having to work through those things every day, and they're getting questions from new people, which is, one of the biggest values of an instructor, I believe, is the ability to answer questions. Kind of that problem solving. That's big. Anybody can kind of say, oh, well, here's what I follow every time. But when you can look at somebody, okay, hey, what do you need? What's your issues right now? What are you having success with? What are you having problems with? When you can do that, It opens it up a lot.
Yeah, and even if the fundamentals instructor is a black belt, all of the problems that you're likely to have are top of mind.
Yeah, he gets asked those for sure, for sure.
But yes,
that's my favorite thing about teaching a fundamentals class and working with white belts is the questions they ask. It just keeps it completely fresh. Like, you gotta, like, those matter. Like keeping your knees wide and your butt back on top. Those things matter.
Yeah. So we talked about professionalism. That's super important. It's kind of a business transaction, right? Finding somebody to at least do the techniques on that has the right body type. Preferably, if your instructor has the same body type, they'll be able to solve your problems better. If you have a piece of the game that you want to deep dive into, make sure they have that piece that you're looking for. Try your home gym first. If you're of a beginner skill level, finding someone who's just 1 or 2 steps above you, or somebody who is teaching people in that beginner level all the time.
I don't know if we touched on home gym too much. I just want to throw one thing. I think the reason why it's important to find an instructor at your home gym, you're already learning, whether you see it or not, there's some sort of system in place that your school teaches. The way they shrimp, the way they knee cut, the way they pass guard, all the above. There's going to be some sort of system. And looking within your home school first for private lessons from those instructors, they're not going to show you, maybe they will, but they're not going to show you a lot that's going to conflict with the system of the gym, because they've been trained in that system as well. So, something that for us, our main shrimp is getting your elbow underneath and escaping for a single leg. If we were working on, you were trying to get better at your side control escapes to single leg, it probably wouldn't be good to work on a side control escape that puts you back in guard. So that's not what you're going to work on in classes. That's not what you're going to see most of the time. So not that wouldn't have value as well, but those instructors are just going to teach within that box of what you're already kind of learning. And the fundamentals too, because I've been to different schools and the fundamentals change drastically sometimes.
The fundamentals at our current gym are way different than the fundamentals at my previous one.
Yes.
So, if you're looking to seal up or bring your level up in relation to the peers at your gym, choosing an instructor from your home gym is kind of a no-brainer. It really helps fill in those gaps. Anyway, we hope this was helpful for you as far as how to get the right jiu-jitsu instructor to get the most value for a private lesson. So share your experiences. We want to hear about what you guys have done, and we will see you in the next episode.